Good evening, wherever you are in the world, and welcome to the Death Cafe. It's such an honor to be here and walk with you on this journey. While we're getting started and welcoming people from all over, when you come online, let me know where you're from and we can see where we're touching in the world tonight. And grab yourself a cup of tea if that feels good. We're starting to be a little cool here in Northern California, so a warm cuppa is a beautiful way to share this time. And find yourself a comfortable place to cozy in. We'll start in just a minute and start with just some centering. And then I'll share a little bit more what the Death Cafe is. So grab yourself a cuppa, be comfortable, and let me know where you're from. Pretty please. That always makes it fun. You know, the live platform, sadly, I can't see you. So I get to see you through your words and through your typing. So it's a sweet way to connect. All right. How about you settle in wherever you are, on the chair, or the couch, maybe you're lying down, maybe you're on the floor doing some yoga, and let's just pause for a minute and come together as a community. When it feels right to you, go ahead and gently let your eyelids close. Gently and deliberately bring your attention to your breath. Breathing in and breathing out. Allow each breath to take you deeper within. We can start to let go of whatever might have been moving through you today. I don't know what kind of day you had. Had a really full day. So it's lovely to just take a moment and breathe and allow our breath to take us deeper within. Direct your awareness to your body, to any sensations. So maybe start with your feet and slowly work your way up through your body. If you're feeling any tension or any pain, use your breath to gently massage that area and start to let it go. Allow your exhalation to take you deeper within, and allow that exhalation to help you let go of any areas of holding, control, tension, or pain. Experience the airflow through your body, any lightening or heaviness, temperature. What can you feel into tonight? Allowing us to be deeply connected to our sense of being, our sense of aliveness, and starting to connect with the deeper layers of our consciousness. May you stay open to the roots of the unexamined assumptions and beliefs, remaining open to all possibilities. May you and all beings feel safe. May your mind, body, and spirit be connected with divine grace. May you feel loved, and may you always know you are loved. With love from my heart to yours. And when it feels ready, you can slowly let your eyelids open and let's come together as a community. If you're just signing on, send me a message in the chat where you're from and what brought you here tonight. I'm going to share just now what the Deaf Cafe is all about, but it's mostly about you and your questions and your inquiry. And I'm just the facilitator and have an opportunity to support you. I'd like to introduce myself, if I may. My name is Dr. Andrea Dearhart. You can call me Andrea, you can call me Dearhart, you can call me Dr. Dearhart, whatever feels right to you. And I have had the honor, the privilege, and the profoundness to be present and support people for the last 35 years at the end of life and their loved ones. I started working as a hospice volunteer and then a hospice social worker. And then I started a nonprofit called The Heart Way, Embracing Life Through Honoring Death. And we support people through advocacy, counseling, end of life care, such as death doula, skills, education, and ministry for those that are dying and their loved ones before, during, and after death. It absolutely inspires my life. I kind of have a saying that death inspires life. So feel so grateful. I've been facilitating Deaf Cafes since 2015, I just checked, and none of them are the same. I want to welcome Saeem. Hello from Yuba City, Sam, and lovely to have you here tonight. Really, really. So let me briefly tell you about the Death Cafe. The Death Cafe really started as a movement beginning in Switzerland when a gentleman by the name of Bernard Kreitz held his first called Cafe Mortel in 2004. Then later, a British website designer, of all people, John Underwood, was inspired to host a Death Cafe gathering in 2011 in his home in London. I just checked online, and as of this morning, there's over 13,153 death cafes in over 80 countries. So we're not alone here. So death cafe events like we're having here tonight are always offered as a nonprofit basis, making them accessible, respectful, and create a confidential space with no intention of leading people on any conclusions, any products, or course of action. And if we were together, we would have refreshing drinks. And I always served chocolate when I did Death Cafes lives, and I look forward to doing them again. So in the meantime, it's a nice cuppa. The overall objective of the cafe gathering is to increase the awareness of death with a view to help people make the most of their finite lives. And accepting this finiteness of life allows us, believe it or not, to live more fully. We discard the external roles and some of our petty concerns that are essentially meaningless. Life inspires meaning. Life inspires us to make the most of this finite life. People have chosen to participate in the Death Cafe gathering for many different reasons, but it's worth noting that the cafe movement really has risen spontaneously and appears to be met for meeting a felt need that we have and demonstrating at least some people in our society and elsewhere are willing and able to talk openly about death-related subjects. I think in the last 2 months, there has been over 20,000 new death cafes across the world. And that just shows you that there's a need and a growing need. All of us in the world dealing with a pandemic has had to face death in a new way, whether it's death of the life we once had, death of loved ones that died during COVID, from COVID or other reasons, loss of jobs, loss of homes, loss of the things we love to do, loss of our coping skills that once guided us when we were going through difficult times in our life. So Death Cafe is a great place to process some of those emotions. So many psychologists will say that the root of all fear is the fear of death. Now, we can't magically make death disappear from our lives, nor can we completely erase the sadness and other forms of distress associated with death-related issues. But we can talk about it, share our insights and attitudes, learn from each other, and strive together to cope more effectively with dying, death, and bereavement. And we know already that inspires life. So that's a little background on you, Death Cafe. And what really makes the cafe really fulfilling is for you to participate. So let us know what brought you here tonight. What's on your mind? What would you like to talk about? And in the meantime, let me check in to see who's with us tonight. Hi, Lena from Pomona. Lovely to have you here connected. And we have somebody from Yuba City. And we have from Boston. Oh, it's a little late for you. I hope you're having a cup of warm chai. So what's on your mind? What would you like to process? While you're thinking of things, I would like to share something that I was working with today that might be of help and support. I got a call from a family who right this minute, so I so want to send out some love and some heart prayers to them as they're in a hospital right now, having to remove life support from their son, who is dying from some type of drug overdose through his addiction. I share this with you because not only does it take your breath away, I just realize it's not a conversation that we talk about too much. And spending about an hour with people, with this beautiful family, helping them to prepare. And one of the things she said struck me so much. They knew their son had an addiction problem and were fearful of just this moment that it might take his life. But she said, nothing prepares you for death. And she's spot on. I kind of listened to her, of course, and then I said, I really can imagine that. And I think you're right. I think nothing prepares us for death, even if we spend a lot of time preparing it, at least for the living. We have this magnificent defense mechanism that's put in place for us, and it's called shock. When we're confronted with a trauma or a situation that might be beyond words, or a death that's violent, unprepared, or even a planned death, we're lost for words. We're lost for a way of expressing ourselves. And there are numerous emotions and sensations and experience that flood our mind. In fact, we actually move from the part of the brain that's thinking to the emotional brain, and we lose the ability to speak. We lose the ability to speak. So we go into a type of shock. And it's so necessary and so supportive. It gives us time to ground, to breathe, to experience, to allow us to come forth and be present. Have an expression that also serves, and I gift it to you if it'll be of any service at all. But I keep remembering that time and tears heal, not just time and not just tears. We need both to heal. I can remember those times in my life or being with clients where sob and sob and sob and sob and sob and think, do I have any more tears left? And I do, but I would think I teared myself away. But more tears come because I also need the element of time, the element of experience, the element to allow myself to integrate all that might be moving through. So we need time and we need tears. And I think that's the key alchemy to our healing. So I send out to this beautiful family our love and support, and knowing that we're loving them through as they say goodbye to their loved ones. Thank you for letting me share. Let me check in with you to see if there's any questions on your mind that we can talk about. Wow, we have somebody from New Zealand. Welcome, Susan. And somebody else checked in from Boston, Mary Elizabeth. Thank you. And let me make sure I'm not missing any questions out there. Bear with me 1 second as I take a peek. Another person from Boston. Welcome. Thank you, Susan. Appreciate you lighting a candle. So here's a question or a comment. I'm trying to prepare for the worst of my brother who is missing in action, who has mental illness and addiction from Southern California. Thank you for bravely sharing your heart. And as I just commented and said, we can't prepare. There are a lot of things we can do to bring ourselves comfort, to bring ourselves the ability to integrate all that might be moving through us during these times. Dealing with a dis-ease, and you're bringing forth kind of mental dis-eases as well as addiction. One of the challenges of dealing with these type of dis-eases or illnesses in our body is they're so unpredictable. And we have no ability to control these situations, nor does the person that's moving through it, especially with cognitive challenges and mental illnesses and diseases, whether we're talking about someone that's bipolar, who's got a borderline personality, someone that's depressed, someone that's anxious, and then putting an addiction on top of it. It's so unpredictable, so chaotic, and so scary. It's very difficult to get some stability around it. And don't forget, our kind of ego consciousness strives on control, strives on being able to understand things, strives on not dying. And the circumstances you're bringing forward drive our ego mind and our ability to be stable a little crazy, to be honest. We almost emulate what might be going on for our loved ones that are going through these emotional, mental challenges for themselves. So I want to process, how can you prepare? How can you care for yourself? Number one is really get the support you need, whether that coming here, I just so bow to your courage, getting some additional support for yourself, someone you trust, some counsel that you can process this array of emotions and experiences that might be moving through you. That's really critical. Now, for yourself, how can you prepare? How can you support yourself? One is you've acknowledged there's a challenge. You've acknowledged your emotions in this journey. That's kind of step one. And find the tools to support that. These are some tools that have always been successful for me. I also shared this with this family I spoke about earlier. Take some time to find a quiet space in your home or out in nature. Create a sacred area. And a sacred area is nothing more for where you can feel your heart and bring in any emotions or spirits or divine energies or source, if that speaks to you, and or a place where you can connect with your heart. Take a journal book and a pen or a tablet, something that you can write with. Spend a few minutes in nature listening, looking at the colors. Right now, looking at the leaves falling. Taking time to smell your environment, touch your environment, and see. Taking all the sensory images from around you. And just spend a little time grounding and breathing. And when you feel you're very present, and you'll know your presence when you can hear the leaves or the water or the wind. That's how you know you're here now. You're here in this moment. And you can sit down and write a love letter to your source, in this case to your brother, or to other family members, or anybody that you're needing to speak with. Maybe you have a conflict. I also just found out someone near and dear to me died last year, and I had no connection with them. So I sat and wrote her a love letter today. And in these letters or journals, write down what's moving through you, your sadness, your fear, your anger if need be. Maybe there's an opportunity for forgiveness. Maybe you can share what this person has meant to you, or how scared you are for them, how out of control you are. I'm not meaning to put words in your mind. Just express what's moving through your heart and express what's moving through your mind. I can promise you a couple things. One, it's going to be hard to write. I never not weep when I write these letters, and they're hard, but I'm so ever grateful for this outlet. You can share these letters or you don't have to at all. But I find this one of the best tools. So getting some support, writing some love letters, and putting some things in place that can support you during this journey of loss. I hope that's helpful, Sim. And I know there's a whole bunch of tools. If you need more information, feel free to reach out through me. You can reach for me through the website. My beautiful partner and administrator, Nikki, will put up the Heartway website and my email if that's helpful. My heart is with you, and I will keep your brother in my heart prayers as he works through his journey in life. We all have a journey, don't we, that we're walking. Okay, thank you. Let me see. What else is on your mind? Let me know, Miss M, if that is helpful to you and if you need anything else this evening. Thank you, Susan. The book by Alan Wolfett about losing someone who is missing in action is a beautiful book and can support you. And of course, finding some reading materials that can support you. On our website, we have tons of resources for grief and death. Feel free to check that out if that's helpful to you. So thank you. You know, when someone's missing in action, whether it's a loved one that has disappeared, a veteran, it's a complicated grief, but we still can say goodbye, and saying goodbye is important. Whether we're able to see a body, bury a body, be connected to someone. This lovely woman in my heart that I didn't get to say goodbye to, I could feel that non-closure in my body. I could feel something was missing. I could feel the pain of that. And I know that I can say goodbye even though she's still not alive, even though she is not near, even though I don't know where her gravesite is. I can still say goodbye. And I don't know if there is such a thing as closure. I think grief is with us every day of our life. It changes colors, changes textures, it changes impact. But if we love, we grieve. And grief is one of the many facets of love. But we can say goodbye. Sometimes we have to say goodbye again and again, especially as we move through life. I carry my loved ones in my heart pocket, and I'm saying goodbye to them again after years. Something arises in my life where I feel them, where I miss them, where I hear them, I see them. Thank you. Oh, yeah. I think, Susan, you're commenting about nature. I think nature is our healing balm. Nature helps us remember who we are. Nature reflects death, the seasons, the connection, our relationship to ourself. And nature speaks through us in the silence where our hearts and souls hear. And I might add that I think the heart and soul is the place within us that may have any ability to understand death. Our minds can't wrap its head around it. Yeah. So Susan, another question. Can you recommend a book about getting your own things in order? Your father's 30 colleagues died in Korea, and of course, for many veterans, beautiful. And you chose to have a mass for them. So there are many resources for helping to prepare for your own death. I'm just putting one out. It's not quite on the website, but it will be really soon as a supplement to a lot of advanced directives. You can find lots of resources. I believe we have one on our website, and I'll mention a couple so you have some tools. There's a couple documents you can just Google. One is called Your Way. It's one of my favorites because it asked questions like what I do want and what I don't want. So it helps us work the spectrum of our emotions and our wishes. There's also 5 Wishes, which is a beautiful document. And these are supplemental documents to our advanced directives, to our durable power of attorney for healthcare. The first step is to explore within yourself, and you can do this through a love letter, what your wishes are, what your needs are, and just write them out. Then your state will have its own durable power of attorney for healthcare, its own living will, and you always can download it through the internet, and that'll help you find the parameters. Now, there's a whole process in answering the questions. You can answer them direct, and then you can take the time in that quiet space in nature within your home to explore what's important to you. And again, we're happy to support you on that. And then once you've done your homework, whether that's exploring what your wishes are at the end of life, how you want to be treated, what kind of medications, what kind of life support you want, sharing where your important documents are, where your passwords are, all the things of your material life that you would be able to support your loved ones after you've gone to make their life easier. It is huge to do this for your family. Having done it for several family members, some that had their paperwork and documents in place and some that have not, it's different. And your loved ones will be grieving. The more you can help them, it's like helping them and loving them from the other side. It is so, so beautiful. So once you've done any type of documents, and maybe you've already done your end of life advance directive documents, please have those conversations with your loved ones. Let them know verbally what your wishes are. Show them where the paperwork is. Let them know what your wishes are. Because you sometimes can't put down on paper what's in your heart. You can do a pretty good job, but there's so much more to be shared. And I promise you, it will help them. I've shared a story about my sister's death. She died of end-stage breast cancer a couple years ago. And she didn't do her advanced directives, and she didn't want to talk about death. She was very afraid of it. We were so very close, so I knew so much about her and what her wishes are and what was important to her. I did know that she wanted to be cremated, but I did also know that she wanted to do all medical interventions no matter what. And there came a point in me caring for her, as I was her durable power of attorney for healthcare, where she had gotten a series of radiation, and this was 3 weeks before she died. And excuse me, I'm going to sneak a little sip in. So interesting. I can feel emotions in my throat. I'm wondering where you feel them. I can feel the tenderness of my voice changing. She started radiation, and she started to decline. She started to become incontinent. She couldn't feed herself. She was soiling herself and really couldn't function. She was losing her ability to interact with this world. And I met with the oncologist who wanted to do continue doing full brain radiation. She ended up in the hospital, and the doctor met me in the hospital. If you want to hear the full story, you can hear it on past Death Cafes on YouTube. And I'm just fast forwarding a little bit because I want to get to your questions and comments. And the doctor sat down, and she gave my sister a neuro exam, which she didn't pass. She didn't have that ability. to pass. And the doctor kept saying, okay, we can do this, we can try this medication, we can do this procedure, we can try this. And I looked at the doctor and I said, Dr. Marshall, it's time to let go. I believe in my hearts of hearts, my sister would not want to live her life like this. She was a vivacious young woman. She died at 49. She loved life. She had the biggest heart one could ever hope for. And she loved fiercely. She's a crafter. And she thrived on doing for others. As she lied in bed with this sweet child look, feeling and energy about her, which I was so grateful for. She wasn't in pain. I knew that she would be okay with letting go. So after a powerful conversation with the oncologist, she agreed to help me get her on hospice care and get her home so she could be surrounded by her loved ones and her 2 young kids. Well, the difficulty was not knowing what her wishes were written down, but she shared just enough for me to know, and I knew her so well, that this would be an option she would choose. She died a couple weeks later, peacefully at home, surrounded by love. And sharing with your loved ones what your wishes are, how you want to be treated, what life is meant to you, what they mean to you, is everything. Because what does bring meaning to your life when it boils down? For me, it's love. Who we love, how we love, that brings the greatest meaning to this life. And you are loving your loved ones by sharing that with them. It's a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful gift that will keep on giving even after you've died. And there's a hidden benefit of it. When we face our mortality, when we face our finite life, and we know life is going to end, we live more fully. We know this life is precious and sacred. And do we really know we're going to see our loved ones again? We really don't. What do you want them to know about you? How do you hang up the phone call as if it's the last time you're going to speak to them? Because it truly could be. And then maybe we're blessed with more time. That's incredible. Really, really is a gift. That's what I mean by death inspires life. It is meaning making. And as James Hillman says, it's soul making. It's soul making. Thank you. Let me check in with you to see what's moving through all of you. By the way, you're all thanking me, and please know it is such an honor to be here and share. And my greatest wish is that it serves and supports your life. Let me check in. Yeah, Mary, it is wonderful resources. Check in on our website, and I promise as soon as I can, I'm going to finish this beautiful document that will supplement advance directives. I should have it within the next month. It's being part of this end-of-life practitioner training program that starts tomorrow for the Heartway. So I will have it soon. So check back in with me and send a message. And there's some good resources out there for you to start, as I mentioned. Yeah, we won't know how to support someone until they share their wishes with us. And trust me, it's an incredible, incredible gift. So Saneem is asking, how can I talk to my brother about my end-of-life wishes when I know he's traumatized by your parents' death and he is unable to get professional support for his trauma? I'm afraid he'd just be terrified of talking. Wonderful question. Thank you for bringing that forth, and my heart is with him. So it is the perfect time to start to have this conversation about death with your brother. And of course, your compassion will serve here. There's a couple ways of starting the conversation with your brother, and I also am really called to ask to add in yoga nidra graceful transitions. If your brother is willing, the practice of yoga nidra, which is just a deep relaxation that helps us, it's a conscious relaxation that helps us heal our traumas. A lot of empirical data on it, as well as master and create the world we want to live in. He can visualize in part of the yoga nidra practice, seeing himself not afraid, seeing himself peaceful, imagining his parents, and your parents, forgive me, feeling at peace and close in his heart. So that's a wonderful tool. The other way to bring the conversation in is exactly because he's traumatized by death. And by taking baby steps in having little conversations about sharing about end of life will help him and support him. You know, when we're able to, and sometimes when someone's in trauma or has PTSD, it's so too painful to talk about the trauma. And that's where yoga nidra helps, because you're not talking about the trauma, but not just, you are healing the trauma through this relaxation technique. There's a lot of research in trauma healing that shows cognitive therapy or talk therapy isn't the most helpful during certain phases of our PTSD or trauma. Okay. You know, right after a trauma, we don't have the words. Remember, that part of the brain shuts down. What we need is compassion and love and being held. And then gently and slowly during the healing process, we can start to share and open up and begin the healing. We have an opportunity to heal the body, we have an opportunity to heal the mind, and we have an opportunity to heal the spirit. And I personally think Yoga Nidra Graceful Transitions is a dynamite tool for beginning that. You can also speak to him about your truth, fears that you have, so he knows he's not alone. So many people are fearful of death. It's a natural instinct to be fearful of it. It's that same place in the brain we talked about, more of our instinct, the death instinct. The ego consciousness is afraid of dying. It just is. The more time we spend with ourselves, we learn to connect to other layers of our consciousness. And I'm so sorry I have been remiss to share how crucial, how vital, how healing is all forms of meditation can be as well. Because we learn how to drop in to a different place and space of our consciousness, that place and space where it is eternal, where we can find peace beneath, below, beside, above, around those noises or those monkeys, the chatter. That's what the mind does. It's not going to go away. It's not a matter of letting the chatter go. It's about resonating with a different layer, not the chatter. The place that knows you're always going to be okay, even in death. Even in death. So many beautiful cultures around the world know this. So with your brother, some baby steps. And you always know you can reach out for additional support to guide you and your brother. Okay, there's beautiful souls out there that can support. Thank you all for being here tonight. It really warms my heart, and I hope being present in the Death Cafe helps you somehow in your life. So Sandra, hi. I want to answer your question. Do you know of any resources that might help those of us who have PTSD from watching someone die and we'll have to go through it again with another loved one. Death may be part of life, but the expectation that family caregivers should handle this on their own is cruel and about as realistic as expecting everyone should be capable of delivering a baby. Hospice quality varies widely. Many expect you to dose with Haldol, etc. Thank you for sharing that, Sandra, and it's just a phenomenal question. And I go to a couple areas. One, I go to the go-to I just shared with you, the Yoga Nidra Graceful Transitions, and you can find it on our website. You can stream it on Amazon, and let me know if you have any more questions about it. But it absolutely is phenomenal in healing PTSD. And part of the reasons it's traumatic to watch someone die is we don't do it very much. We don't talk about it very much. There's not a lot of resources about it. So it's shocking. It can be scary, especially if we haven't had conversations around it. So the Yoga Nidra is so helpful for that. And talking with someone that has a lot of experience around end of life to help normalize the process. I want to share one thing, and Sandra, forgive me if this is uncomfortable, and I hope it serves. Watching someone die is very hard. We watch our loved ones wither away. I hear over and over again, it's not my mother, it's not my grandfather, it's not my son, it's not my sister. Because they change so much before our eyes, physically, emotionally, and spiritually. And it's scary if we know nothing about it. It's actually a natural process. That is what happens to the body at the end of life. It's different with everybody depending on the disease process, sudden deaths versus slow deaths, age as a factor, disease processes. There's so many things. But our imaginations go to places that sometimes just really isn't the reality. I'll just mention one area for an example. Towards the end of life for many, the lungs start to shut down. Natural process. It's not painful. It builds up some fluids in the back of the throat. And oftentimes we'll hear some gurgling sounds coming out of somebody that's dying. People call this the death rattle. I'm so sorry. I don't like the death rattle. It's a gurgling sound. And it looks and sounds like it might be uncomfortable. It's a little bit, I get what the rattle come from. It's a little bit like a rattlesnake. Have you ever heard a rattlesnake rattle? It invokes some fear in us, just some terror. I can remember going on a hike and taking a step, and there were two bushes, narrow little path for me, and I heard that rattle. Oh my goodness, I can just feel it still in my body. So this noise creates a little bit of that fear and terror. So that's natural. But it's not painful for the loved one. It's just not. And when we know it's a process of the lungs shutting down, our loved one is in pain, it's just a sound and noise that we have to deal with. It's natural, it's normal, it's the process. So you talked about hospice and the quality varies. It does. And then there are a lot of other support people that are trained in end of life in some of the things I've talked about, as well as the psychological, the spiritual, and that is end of life practitioners. An end of life practitioner is a death doula. A death doula is not necessarily an end of life practitioner. An end of life practitioner has been educated in not only the psycho-spiritual aspects, but also the clinical aspects, also the integrative practices of joining hospice with end of life practitioners, as well as being able to be present at the end of life, put a plan of care together at the end of life, help with the loved one before, during, and after death, if that's what the wishes is. So those are some of the resources that are readily available for you, Sandra, and your loved ones to help prepare. And for end-of-life practitioners, it's never too early to engage. Sometimes I've worked with families for years and moved through different cycles and processes. Maybe somebody was diagnosed with a terminal illness, but they lived for many years. It gives us an opportunity to establish a relationship and move with the different ever-changing, ever-flowing ways of our lives. I hope that that's helpful for you. And again, if you need additional information, please let me know, Sandra. And lastly, I'm just touched with your comment about drugs. You really get to have that, and this is where an end-of-life practitioner comes in to really support. It's very important to have those conversations with hospices, what your loved ones' wishes are, what your wishes are, and talk about the medications. There are many, many ways of supporting people through pain at the end of life. Medication is one. You've got yoga nidra, you have meditation, you have prayer, you have music, you have pet therapy, you have all kinds of tools that support pain. And yoga nidra is just one of those dynamite processes to really help with acute pain as well as chronic pain. It's really phenomenal, the shift that happens. In working with hospice, you can balance the meds and have a really important in-depth conversation about integrative tools for supporting someone at the end of life. I hope that's helpful, Sandra. Let me see, anything else on your mind? Thank you, Nikki, for sharing resources. It's really helpful. I hope you're seeing that in the thread. Susan, I'm just reading. Oh, thank you for sharing that, Susan. And I didn't mention that. So there's so many wonderful tools. You talked about your mom giving you had reflexology and massage every other day. Beautiful. So you really understand the benefit of the integrative tools for supporting somebody at the end of life, whether it's anxiety, whether it's pain, whether it's discomfort, whether it's fear. There are many, many tools. I also want to share one more tool that I use with every single family I work with. It's also on our website, and it's called, it's not my tool, but a tool that I utilize. It's called Graceful Passages. And you can go right on our website to the store, I believe, or resources, and you can click and get a link to download it. It's a beautiful book with vignettes from lovely spiritual and psychological teachers around the world. And it comes with 2 CDs, one with words and one without. The music is beautiful by Michael Stillwater. And I often have families play this for loved ones. And the vignettes talk about that you were loved, that sometimes we forget we are loved. Also talks about being held. Also talks about you're ready for this journey, and you always have been. Beautiful, beautiful vignettes. And I highly suggest this book. And the music is soothing. And I encourage music too for your loved ones. Absolutely. Self-care, yes, for yourself as well as your loved one. Have that massage for you too, those of you that are caring for loved ones. You know, it's critical, and it's oxymoronic to a caregiver. Isn't that funny? Because as a caregiver, our job is to give care. And in giving care, sometimes we forget to care for ourselves. In fact, most of the time, we forget to care for ourselves. And you all know, I know you know this, I'm going to say it again though, if we don't care for ourselves, we can't really truly care for another. We need to fill us up. And yet it doesn't feel so good because we're so focused on care. But I have another way of looking at it. Bear with me. When you give love to yourself, whether it's a nutritional meal, whether it's a little hike, whether it's a massage, whether it's reflexology, whether it's getting your nails done, you're actually giving love to everyone you come in contact with. And you're also modeling how important you are. We're also in a culture that doesn't support that. We're supported for breaking our tushies for someone else. Oh, look what a great caregiver they were. They spent every hour with them. They work themselves to exhaustion. What love they have. And it is a form of love. But if we don't care for ourselves, we just can't care for our loved ones. We can't separate it, but we do somehow. So it is crucial. And the hard part about self-care with loved ones is that we don't have time either because we're caring for someone. This is where you can do it together. This is where you can do a yoga nidra session together. This is where you can listen to graceful passages together. So you're loving on both of you at the same time. It doesn't take hours for self-care. Sometimes it's just a breath. Taking a deep breath in. I had an incredibly amazing, intense day today. And before I came online, I just stopped and took a couple deep breaths. Changed everything for me. Gave me the grounding to muster up my love and care for all of you and to bring myself into our sacred space. So maybe just a minute and taking time. I have a little expression. I hope it serves you. And I want you to, wherever you are in the world right now, just cup your hands for me, would you? Don't cheat. I can't see you, but I know you're doing it, right? And I want you to put a baby bird in there. This baby bird is you. And I want you to treat yourself like a baby bird. And what would that be like? You'd be tender, wouldn't you? You would hold it softly. You would feed it a little bit, maybe with an eyedropper. Slowly, mindfully, with love. You might sing to it. You might rest it down in a little blanket to rest. Treat yourself like a baby bird. And as you treat others, then you'll always find that well of energy to love. There is zero zippo shame in reaching out for care for yourself, reaching out for love, reaching out for support. You know, we need each other. It takes a village. I didn't make my clothes. I know some people do. I didn't build the house I live in. I didn't grow all my food. I have sprouts and some veggies growing. So don't we truly need each other? So important to take care of yourself. Love yourself like you love others. I wish that for you. Let's see what else you're sharing. So Zanine is sharing about, when you cared for your dad, you didn't have time for yourself because of the circumstances. Now you're challenged with forgiving yourself for breaking apart in the middle of it. So, sweetie, I so want to support and know, and I've had an opportunity of engaging with you for a while, that we do and you did all that you could. Sometimes, I think most of the time, we have to crash before we really get it. Sometimes we can put some preventative medicine in, but usually the best teachers are a crash. You did what you had to do to care for your dad, and I know you loved him through beautifully. I know you did. And we are human beings, imperfectly perfect. And I think we're here for those lessons and gifts. It's not about getting it right. It's about being present. It's about loving. It's about doing the best we can. It's about learning and growing. But mostly, it's about love. Being present with love. And I know your dad felt loved. So I do hope you can forgive yourself. And maybe one of your love letters is to you. I have no doubt your Father forgave you as he loved you. And I want to make one other statement, if I may, is that I don't think we break apart. I think we break in. We fall in, not fall apart. And falling in gives us another look and another meandering to the many beautiful layers and essences of our being. And the goal is, I think, to get closer to living our essential nature, remembering we are spirit. And sometimes we have to pull away, float away, and let go of the layers that are in the way of our living our true, amazing, loving, compassionate selves. We all have these layers. We all have these life experiences. And being near death is one of the great teachers. Also, one of the great levelers, takes our breath away, but one of the great teachers in our life. So I send you so much love and kindness for yourself on this journey. Yeah, thank you. Perfectly imperfect. I have to share real quickly. My mom used to call me perfect, and I didn't like it. I knew I wasn't, and it was so hard to live up to it. I kept for a long time striving, and I kept feeling like a failure, the failure, the failure. So a few years before she died, I said, Mom, it's really hard to hear you call me perfect because I'm not, and it puts pressure on me. And she says, I know you're not, but to me, you're perfect. I said, I know, but I don't know if you can understand. It's hard to live up to that. And culture puts a lot of pressure on us too. And she says, okay, how about you're imperfectly perfect? And I said, okay, Mom, I like that one. So I've borrowed it ever since, and I gift it to all of you. So thank you. My goodness, we've only got a couple minutes left. I want to peek in to see what's moving through you before we say our goodbyes. And if there's anything else you need to say or share, please take the time to do it now. Yes, writing love letters to ourselves. Please make sure that's part of your love letter adventure. You can get yourself a new pretty shiny journal that's your love letter journal. I have one of those as well, and it is my best. It's my form of journaling. It's my form of diary. It's my form of speaking to a divine nature. Yes, Susan, so beautifully said. Our hearts break open and we become more compassionate. Yes. Yes. And lastly, yes, Mary, thank you. Being there for whatever is happening is everything. Isn't that life? Life, life. We can't control it. We think we can, but we just can't control it. And I want to share 3 words with you, if I might. And they come from a beautiful, beautiful spiritual teacher named Swami Shivananda. And he says, adapt, adjust, accommodate. One more time. Adapt, adjust, accommodate. I feel that's just the best gift we can give ourselves. If we're adapting, we're going into the flow. If we're adjusting, we're finding our way in, accommodating to whatever comes forth. I think we'll have a beautiful, gentle life, adapting, adjusting, and accommodating. Can we actually do more than that? Yeah. Thank you all so much for being here. Oh, Betsy, I love you. Thank you all for being here. My heart is full. Such an honor to share this time with you. Please, please be kind to yourself. Be safe. Be love. Be you. with love from my heart to yours. I'll see you next month. Check in if you need anything.